So for this first day, I tried to do something that kind of scared me a little bit, and that was to write a stand-up comedy routine. And I think that this one was scary to me because I feel like it's such a bold claim to claim that you're a funny person. Because, someone either finds you funny or they don't. It's pretty hard to convince them that you're funny when they don't think you are. I think I'm an averagely funny person. It depends so much on the context and the people I'm with and how confident I feel around them. But I find things funny, which I think means that I can produce humor as well. So the first thing that I did for today was I wrote out the comedy routine. And this part was, I think, easier than I thought it would be. Starting out was a little bit hard because I felt myself trying to imitate other comedians. I think I've learned that the most effective way to write something is to just be completely genuine to yourself. And I am saying this when I talk about things like creative writing, like humor or poetry. So after I reflected a little bit on the things I do find funny, the jokes I've found funny in the past, it was actually not too difficult to write something that I felt reflected my humor. But what was really difficult for me was recording this, because I have recorded before, and I know that I have a tendency to, I guess, kind of observe myself while I'm recording, and I do think that when you observe yourself, I feel like you kind of split yourself into two, the observer and the person being observed, and you can't be fully the person being observed when you are observing yourself. What I'm saying is I have a tendency to be self-conscious when I'm recording myself, either talking or playing cello or things like that. Yeah, and I think, especially with recording something meant to be funny, you have to have so much confidence in what you're saying, because I think humor is so dependent on the delivery and how confident you are in your joke. And being confident in my sense of humor was really difficult, especially because all of these worries kept coming in. I think I was really worried about, what would this person think, or how would they feel about me after this? And when I was listening back to my recording, I felt that there are so many places where, I should have added a line so people don't think that I have this specific belief, or maybe a future employer somehow tracks this back to me and they just hate people who make YouTube videos or something. Yeah, I think I have a hard time listening back to the audio file that I recorded, because there are so many parts where I felt the need to defend myself, almost pleading for people to not criticize me. But I also know that this writing, when I did write it, came from a genuine place, and most of the delivery came from a genuine place too. And a big part of why I'm doing this is to practice showing up genuinely and being okay with knowing that people will likely have beliefs about me that I don't want to have, and to believe that I'm still safe even if they do believe these things. So I've unfortunately linked this audio file in the description, so check it out if you're curious. And I'll see you tomorrow, where I will be, I'll be writing a chapter of a fiction book. Goodbye. Okay. So yesterday I came home from college for the summer, and one thing that I like to do is go through my high school yearbooks. And my favorite part of every high school yearbook will always be the senior quote section, where every high school senior is prompted to send in a quote that's, I don't know, probably under 200 characters or something, that it can really be anything they want. And a lot of people make it funny, and a lot of people make it nostalgic or like really hopeful or really inspiring. And one quote that I kept coming across was actually quoting Winnie the Pooh. And it goes, "How lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard." And I was going through all these quotes, and I realized that I came across this quote at least 7 times. And 7 doesn't seem like a huge number, but I think it is, because, put it into context. Imagine I conquer 7 countries. What are you going to tell me, that I should have tried harder? Or, I don't know, I unhinge my jaw and I eat 7 loaves of bread all at once. Are you not going to be at least slightly concerned? I think you would be. So 6, 7, it was 7, is a big number. And I was just thinking about this quote a lot, and I have come to the conclusion that there is no way that every single senior who submitted that quote was reading Winnie the Pooh at the same time at the end of their high school senior year, because obviously they're busy doing high school senior things like caring about their grades and keeping their GPA up and their blood alcohol content below 0.0. So this quote just felt so arbitrary to me, and I like the quote because I think it kind of summarizes at least my feelings about the senior year pretty well. I think it's just very heartfelt and hope-core. So this is why the quote just felt so odd to me, because I'm like, where are these people getting these quotes from? Where are people getting specifically this quote from? So what I am convinced happened, and this is what I did as a high school senior, is we search up online good high school senior quotes to submit for your yearbook. And I was kind of thinking about this, and I'm imagining that there is an organization where you can pay to have your quote come up on Google when high school seniors search for, or like on a website or something. It's like an ad placement thing where if someone believes that they have something very important and very inspiring to say, then they could submit it to this website and it will show up and when high school seniors search for quotes to use. So it can be like the more money you pay, the higher it'll be on this website. But then that made me think that Winnie the Pooh must be a actual billionaire, because there are so many people who use this quote, and I'm imagining that he's paying this organization just buckets and buckets of pure gold honey. And if you know that little like red crop top that he wears, I'm imagining it's like this red silk bathrobe, and he's actually, standing on the edge of a cliff drinking honey from a champagne glass, and he's just like looking over his 100-acre wood, like twiddling his mustache, like, oh, it's all mine. So Winnie the Pooh also recently became part of the public domain, and maybe you guys aren't aware, there are some truly magnificent films that have come out of it, and I'm saying this as someone who has not watched either film that I'm about to quote. But one of them is from 2023, and it's called Blood and Honey, and there's an upcoming one called Pooniverse Monsters Assemble, and both of them are these, like, horror versions of Winnie the Pooh, and the trailers are truly disturbing. It's a fascinating reflection of what people can create. And it was about a couple years ago that there were people posting online about all these new things that people were creating right when Winnie the Pooh came out into the public domain. And I really think that the reason people were creating all of these things is because they maybe felt so restricted when Winnie the Pooh was not in public domain. They felt restricted about what they could and couldn't create about him. There's all these rules about getting sued and stuff. So now that Winnie the Pooh is part of the public domain, people are just kind of going wild, and it's kind of like a high school senior who goes to college and like their parents are really restricting, and now they just kind of go wild. So I am a classical musician, and I think a lot about public domain because of this. So a lot of the sheet music that classical musicians play from is downloaded from this website called IMSLP. And, yeah, and generally the works that you find on there are classical music, and, yeah, so I think a lot about public domain as a classical musician, because a lot of the music that I like is from composers that were kind of active in like the 1900s or so. And one of the biggest public domain rules in the United States is that works are generally in the public domain either 95 years after its publication or 70 years after the publisher or the creator dies. So because I'm into a lot of music from composers in the 1900s, that means that, it's kind of a gamble on whether or not I'll be able to access it on IMSLP. So all of this stuff about Winnie the Pooh was kind of making me wonder what it was like when certain classical music pieces emerged into the public domain. If it was anything like Winnie the Pooh was, I'm imagining people were kind of like sitting, waiting for the clock to strike midnight on January 1st at a New Year's party in 1808, and they're just like, oh man, I really can't wait to create my EDM version of Vivaldi's Four Seasons. Or, if you take the other side of the rule, on the contrary, they were plotting Vivaldi's death, plotting Vivaldi's murder, so they would only have to wait 70 years, and then they can create their reality show version of Vivaldi's Four Seasons, like, 4 seasons enter the villa, and only one will escape, only one will stay. And which one will Vivaldi choose? Will it be the icy, hard-to-crack bad boy winter? Anyway, so now for a complete topic change, having stickers on your instrument case. So another thing about classical music, especially with string instrumentalists, I think, it's kind of a thing to put stickers on your case, and not just any stickers, but stickers that show where you've been, what kind of things you're into, the festivals that you've been into, the schools that you go to. And I have fallen into this, and I have a decorated cello case. But one sticker that I'm kind of ashamed of is from the National Youth Orchestra, which I went to back in junior high school. Don't clap. I know it's cool. And it was a very formative experience to me. But I am really ashamed of this sticker because when I was a high school junior, I, for some reason, decided to put this neon red National Youth Orchestra sticker right at the top of my cello case. So the way a cello case is built is there's kind of a small section at the top that looks like a head, and then there's a neck section, and then there's a wider body section, and I decided to put this sticker right at the top. So if the cello case looks like a human, it's like right smack dab in his forehead. And whenever I walk around, especially in like music circles, I kind of hate my high school self because I decided to put it there, and I know that I kind of hunch over every time that I walk around in these spaces because I don't want to seem like a condescending bleep. Let's see. But a couple months ago, someone actually put googly eyes on my cello case, and it's also on the head section of this cello case. So the National Youth Orchestra sticker is right smack dab in the middle of these two googly eyes. And I'm actually really happy that someone put those googly eyes there because I feel like it kind of humanizes the case a little bit in the best way possible. But it looks like my cello case just has this giant condescending sticker, giant condescending pimple on his forehead. So not only is my cello case a hormonal teen, who nobody likes, but he's also incredibly condescending. Like, if he's walking around in some sort of music setting or just around town, and a mom comes up to him and she's like, "Oh wow, you went to this orchestra? My son plays cello." And then the case is like, yeah, your son probably sucks. He wouldn't make it into this. Thank you very much. This is Amy Jong, and I am leaving.